समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है, अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है, अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
आप समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
How should one understand Donald Trump's newfound love for Pakistan? For the second time in a few months, the American president has met with Pakistan's army chief Asim Munir. This time, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif was also at the meeting. Ahead of the meeting, Trump described both men to be great guys. In fact, he said of Munir, very great guy. This comes on a day when reports are coming in of a possible 100% tariff on the pharma sector. So if you club Trump's courting of Pakistan, the H-1B visa policy shifts, the 50% tariffs, what even is going on from an Indian perspective? I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. These images are going to raise more than one eyebrow in India. This is the second meeting between the American president and Field Marshal Asim Munir in a few months. This time, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif was also present at the White House. Trump used the word great guys to describe both men. India would have a thing or two to say about that, but once again, we do not know what is driving Trump's new interest in Pakistan. Is it the Bagram airbase? Is it business links with his family and Pakistan's crypto council? Or is it good old-fashioned flattery? Because Pakistan flattered Trump again, calling him a man of peace and repeating Trump's position on Operation Sindoor, something that India has in fact denied. This, as Foreign Minister Jaishankar is of course also in the United States of America. At the United Nations, Jaishankar has called out what he says is the hypocrisy and the doublespeak of the West, even calling for a greater consistency when it comes to debates around energy supplies. Now, all of this is coupled with tectonic shifts that are taking place in American policy. We've seen the changes in the H-1B visa regime, and today come reports of a 100% tariff in the pharma sector. This is separate from the overall 50% tariff, 25% of which is the so-called penalty because India is purchasing Russian oil. To try and understand Trump's newfound love for Pakistan and whether we should give a fig, let me introduce our very distinguished experts. Today on the program, military veteran General Shukla is with us. Welcome to the program, sir. And veteran diplomat Ambassador Veena Sikri is with us as well. Thank you. Namaskar. Good to see you both. Let me play out a clip of Donald Trump. He evidently kept Pakistan's Prime Minister and Field Marshal waiting for 30 minutes, but he did say that the gentlemen were great guys. This is what he said ahead of the meeting.
Now, I'm very disappointed in President Putin. I thought I solved 7 wars. In fact, we have a great leader coming. We have the Prime Minister of Pakistan coming and the Field Marshal, Pakistan. Field Marshal is a very great guy, and so is the Prime Minister, both. And they're coming, and they may be in this room right now. I don't know, because we're late. And I said maybe they'd like to join the. They actually may be somewhere in the beautiful Oval Office. Yeah, please, behind you.
The interesting thing is that the White House press feed did not release any pictures. The pictures of this meeting have been, in fact, released by Pakistan. Let's get our conversation going. These pictures that you see and a video that is available of this meeting has been released by Pakistan. The meeting was closed to the press, just like the meeting between Trump and Asim Munir that took place a couple of months ago was also closed to the press. So there's something going on there where Trump, normally very open with the press, he conducts his entire sort of foreign policy in public gaze. He hasn't let the media in for these meetings with Asim Munir and this time with Shehbaz Sharif. Ambassador Veena Sikri, let's start there. The fact that the video available has been released by Pakistan, very unlike Trump, yet he's called both of these men great guys. India would say, something very different. How concerned should we be? Only from a security lens. We don't care otherwise, but only from a security lens.
Well, I think, first of all, yes, you're absolutely right. It's quite surprising that for a meeting which is said to have lasted 80 minutes, although it was half an hour late, but still it is said to have lasted 80 minutes, there is no readout. There is no readout either from the Pakistan side or from the USA side. So there is no official version of actually what happened in the meeting. So to understand this and to see whether we should be worried or not worried about it, I think let's look at two or three aspects that could be driving the discussions in the meeting. I think the first is I'd like to take off at this point.
I just want to correct you. There is a readout from the Pakistani side. There is a readout from the Pakistani side, and I was just doubly making sure that that readout does formally exist, and it is being reported widely. That is the readout in which he has been praised once again as a man of peace and so on. So there is an official response from the Pakistani side.
But nothing.
But yes, nothing at all from the White House. Not even any pictures. This is what we have so far. Nothing very detailed. Let me if I read it out to you. The readout from the Pakistan Prime Minister's office read: Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif called on President Trump at the White House this afternoon. He was accompanied by Field Marshal Asim Munir. During their warm and cordial meeting, the Prime Minister expressed his deep admiration for Trump, describing him to be a man of peace who is engaged in sincere efforts to end conflicts around the world. He appreciated President Trump's bold, courageous and decisive leadership that had facilitated the ceasefire between Pakistan and India. In their discussions about the Middle East, Sharif also lauded Trump's efforts to bring an immediate end to the war in Gaza, especially over his initiative to invite key leaders of the Muslim world in New York for a comprehensive exchange of views for the restoration of peace in the Middle East, in particular Gaza and the West Bank. The Pakistan Prime Minister also thanked Trump for the tariff deal that was concluded earlier this year. The Prime Minister has invited, that means Shehbaz Sharif has invited American companies to invest in Pakistan's agriculture. That's the readout.
Yeah. Well, I know, but I mean that's really quite. They've not said anything substantive about what was happening. And by the way, the Deputy Prime Minister of Pakistan, Ishaq Dar, has himself, said that yes, India is not interested in any mediation. They don't accept any third-party mediation, and we are now prepared to talk to India bilaterally. So, well, this is quite different from what the Prime Minister said. Anyway, let me just go back. Just 3 or 4 points I want to see as to what possibly have been the issues discussed during this meeting. I think the first one, let's look at the Pakistan-Saudi Arabia Mutual Defense Pact. I think that's a point of start, and I do think that one of the important objectives of that Pakistan-Saudi Arabia Mutual Defense Pact is that Saudi Arabia is now going to pay in huge amounts for Pakistan replenishing its losses in Operation Sindoor and purchasing American weapons. So I think you're going to see a lot of big ticket items being purchased, because we know that they lost aircraft, they lost air defense systems and so on. And all these are going to be replaced by America through Saudi Arabian money. I think this is a big aspect that they would have discussed. In fact, they were saying yesterday that during this meeting, President Trump was wearing a lapel pin, which was a fighter aircraft. And Pakistan said, oh, this is the aircraft that has dropped. But then they were told that no, President Trump was wearing this even during the meeting with Erdogan, with the Turkish president. And they said, and we know that the meeting with the Turkish president is very much about buying more aircraft, selling the F-35 from America to Turkey. That is very much a part of the deal, because, with American sanctions, Turkey has been denied the F-35s, and now they should be getting it. So I think this would have been one of the very important and detailed discussions on which they would have talked about. The second would have been, very importantly, the commercial aspects of the relationship. And in this, of course, one, you have the commercial aspect of the cryptocurrency deal, which have certainly benefited Trump's family itself. But then there are also 2 other aspects on which we are told that on 8th of September this year, there was an agreement signed in Pakistan in Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's office. And this concerns the extraction of critical minerals from Pakistan and the exploitation of the so-called oil reserves of Pakistan. Everybody's saying there are no oil reserves, but anyway, $500 million oil exploration deal has also been signed. So these were signed very recently, I believe, on the 8th of September in Pakistan. And I think this would have definitely been one of the aspects. I think the third aspect, which I think is being talked about a lot, is President Trump's newfound interest in getting Bagram base back with the Americans. And it's surprising he made this offer publicly, and he was turned down equally publicly by the Taliban. regime in Afghanistan. But I think maybe, that Pakistan and America are going to work together on this. And I think this is something that this is a new aspect that President Trump is talking about. Maybe
So,
we'll
do we
discuss.
care? The question for me to you, ma'am, is this: do we care? Should we care? Do we
Well,
need to care?
let me tell you. So I was coming to the fourth aspect. Now, these aspects, I agree, are all something between Pakistan and USA, but it also shows a newfound love for Pakistan, a new role for Pakistan that America is carving out, because they're saying more and more that Pakistan has a very important security role of great interest to the USA. The final point that I want to make, this is of great concern to us, and I think, is Pakistan carving out is USA carving out a new role for Pakistan in South Asia? I think this is a very important point, and I think here I would like to bring in what Pakistan has been doing in Bangladesh. And I think that this is very significant, because right from last year, from August 2024, even when the Biden deep state was involved in the regime change move against Sheikh Hasina, and Pakistan was the conduit through which they did that. And ever since then, everybody thought that when President Trump comes to power, this will change, but it has not changed. The same American deep state is continuing its activities very definitely in Bangladesh, and they are giving Pakistan that responsibility. Just in February this year, we've seen that when Prime Minister Modi was in Washington, President Trump was seen telling the media, "Oh, Bangladesh, I'm leaving it to Prime Minister Modi." But today, now we are seeing a complete change. And Asim Munir has had the goal to say that the next attack is going to come from the east. So this kind of, we've seen also the move to replenish Lal Munirhat base and so on, and to do all that. I think this is very, very significant, which we have to think about, and we have to certainly worry about it. I think the other aspect which is there, which again Pakistan definitely has a role with, is on this humanitarian corridor through Bangladesh to Myanmar. And the final point, I think, is about China, because it seems to me this is a big change from President Trump's first term, is his assessment of China. All right from I would say, even the 25 years of this century, 21st century, we've seen American leaders, Democratic and Republican, emphasizing India's role as an important partner with USA in what they see as their rivalry with China, and it's a rivalry that they have to strengthen themselves against. But now, under President Trump in his second term, you're seeing the G2 concept coming back again, and you're seeing them talking about an accommodation between China and USA, and China and USA coming together. So in that context, if it is a G2, then there is no role for multi-alignment.
Okay,
then both China and USA want India to be weak.
Absolutely. You spelled out a number of points, and I want to pick up maybe your penultimate point and take it to General Shukla. So look, we didn't just see General Shukla, Shehbaz Sharif and Asim Munir meeting with President Trump. We also saw Muhammad Yunus meeting with Shehbaz Sharif. Speaking later to the media, saying very openly, we have problems with India, and they've given sort of shelter to Sheikh Hasina and so on. So I want to pick up this point first. Is Trump trying to create a new role for Pakistan in South Asia, even I would say, dare I say, in the Middle East, given that Pakistan's Prime Minister has been involved after the pact with Saudi Arabia in that meeting between Trump and Muslim countries on Gaza? Pakistan has suddenly found sort of its 15 seconds of fame, if I may put it like that. How do you see it, General Shukla?
So, in Trump's worldview, a couple of months back, both Sharif and Munir would have been only as important as the teleprompter and the escalator. But today they definitely seem to have, increased greatly in importance. And I think that is primarily because of the shape that the Indo-US relationship is taking. And I think here, in addition to the wonderful points that Ambassador Sikri has made, I want to make 2 points and just throw them up for discussion. I think the Indo-US relationship today hangs by 2 threads. One is of hope and the other is of fear. Now, what is the hope? The hope is that these troughs, these blips are temporary. We could also pay some kind of flattery tax, Nobel Prize nominations, even these disputes in agri, soya or so forth. Could we get around them? Are there ways of finding workarounds them? Or even wait Trump out? Many are of the view that this can be done, and some very respected voices have been saying this. If that is it, our response of quiet, diligent diplomacy, not getting publicly provoked by some of the outrageous statements, is wise. So if the hope factor is valid, then what we are doing is wise. But the fear factors are worrying. And the fear factors are these, that Trump and the MAGA world now no longer see India as a partner, but as an economic strategic rival. And here there is some talk of the MAGA camp telling Trump that, listen, look what we did with China. We got them into WTO, we coupled technology extension, and look what they've done to us. They are challenging us. And India is not too far down in the pecking order, number fourth economy and all. If we help them along, are we creating two regional hegemons, one in the Indo-Pacific and one in South Asia? And they could at some time challenge American power. And the second point is what I think Ambassador Sikri said, that in their worldview, because they are cutting a deal with China, because the USA is retreating, it is challenged, they don't need India to contain or balance China. That is also the Ashley Tellis view, where he says that Trump is taking in a strategic view of the world. So we do not need India to balance China. And the third streak is, many think that India is too diffident about this business of strategic autonomy, and the US lean was insufficient. They didn't. I think Mr. Vance made the statement that if you are a strategic partner, behave like one. So we didn't give too many concessions. Now, if these three are coming together and the Americans think that they don't need India, or India is not leaning enough, these fears are worrying. Because if these fears are worrying, then all that Ambassador Sikri is saying, see what's happening now. It's China with its equipment, wraparound technologies, Turkey with drones, submarines, and its neo-caliphate ambitions, Saudi Arabia, oil, financing their defense budget, an Islamist alliance, and Bangladesh extending the Islamic flank. Now, this is certainly something that we cannot gloss over. We do have options, but our foreign policy is challenged.
Yeah, I think both of you have spelled it out very well. I want to welcome Tara Kartha, Strategic Affairs Analyst, to the program. Ma'am, let me get your take on this meeting that has taken place between Sharif, Munir, and President Trump. You know, somebody described it to be America's biggest pivot to Pakistan since the 1970s. You know, like it's almost back to the future in that sense. Is that how you see it, Tara Kartha?
Not really. Not really,
Okay.
because so far, let's say maybe things will change, but so far all that they have committed to a very broke Pakistan is 370 million, which is a technical package for the F-16s. That's it. That's all they've got. That is so far, like I said. Number two, you have to see this whole relationship within the divide of CENTCOM versus PACCOM. PACCOM, Pacific Command, has a certain set of priorities which includes us. CENTCOM has a different set of priorities which centers on Pakistan today. That is what you are seeing. Now, I'm putting all the tariffs and all aside for the moment. I'm just talking about this relationship. So this one-on-one with these two persons, you know, Sharif, who has no powers at all, and the setting which is done by the field marshal. I mean, American presidents have always been impressed with the uniform, right? You and both of us know that. But they have a role for Pakistan, which was
I think we should send General Shukla to meet Donald Trump then.
Yes, indeed, yes. Yeah, he would be brilliant as he would talk.
I'm yearning to get that great guy label.
We'll give it to you. You're a great guy.
Yeah,
No, but more seriously. Carry on, ma'am. Carry on. Yeah.
So the fact is, the readout from when Ishaqdar met with Rubio, you saw that readout. It referred only to Iran and some amount to Afghanistan, the Islamic State, blah blah blah, etc. So this is an Iran play. In this, I will look at I may be making 2 + 2, not just 5 but 10. The whole Saudi, Pak agreement which took place, this whole strange, very very strange defense agreement, which was backed by Iran. I mean, Iran met with them the day earlier. The next day, they briefed Iran. This is some kind of a setting going on where that huge China factor is now being pushed out. So I don't agree Yeah, I think what the general said on them not needing India may or may not be true. I've seen this actually, what you said exactly in Rand papers about 4 years ago, where they said you can't rely on India. They don't do anything which is going to work for us. But then, of course, we had a one-on-one with the author where it turned out we do a lot which they don't know about. So this is now a West Asian play. Now, whether we are a factor in that, I don't think so. It is nothing to do with us. If Pakistan is sorry, let me rephrase that.
Okay.
Not nothing to do with us. Certainly not. If Pakistan is given a larger regional role, it is everything to do with us. So
Yeah.
it is an uncomfortable thing, especially I think as Mrs. Ambassador Sikri will say, if indeed it also includes a US role in Bangladesh. I mean, Pakistan is so far playing
Yeah.
both sides, China and US. It can't do that for very long. It cannot be done. So at some point, they're going to have to choose.
That's
And that's
yeah. I think what you're saying is that India may not have been the motivation for these shifts,
Yeah.
but there will be unintended and not so great consequences for India if Pakistan gets to flex muscle, be important, and so on. Both Ambassador Sikri, General Shukla want to respond. I'll start with you, General Shukla, then come to Ambassador Sikri. Go ahead, General Shukla.
With this issue raised by Tara, this business of a military to military relationship. In this triangular relationship, it is extremely important. And we have always downplayed our role. I mean, I know from our experience, given India's size, we should have been engaging more actively with both IPACOM and CENTCOM. And, I remember when I was in service towards the dying years of my service, a proposal was raised and ultimately we settled for a colonel. A colonel in CENTCOM will do nothing. So this, coyness of ours, because the military to military relationship is so important. In this case, also see what happened. Kuruvilla and Munir, the way they got along, it transferred to some kind of Munir's, welcoming in Washington. And as I've said on your show before, we must be honest also. I was in Washington in the same week in which Asim Munir was there. I had gone with the Carnegie delegation. What surprised me was not only that he was lunched by Trump, but he was the toast of Washington that week. Everybody was calling him, and we were absent. So whether it is the military to military or the other, we need to invest in this. And here I think the Americans are right when they point out that Pakistani engagement is far more shrewd and far more aggressive than the Indian engagement. And so let me just conclude with this. At least now let's learn the value of military diplomacy and step up our engagement. I'll make one more point. I think Rajamohan has been making this point for long. In Brussels, which has both NATO and EU, we don't even have a DA. So the military engagement, as part of diplomacy, must step up as India gains salience in the part.
I think that's an excellent point, but I want to bring in Ambassador Sikri on this argument that this is an Iran play, this is the West Asia play. There will be consequences for us, but we weren't. For example, the Saudis. The Saudis haven't made this pact to work against India, right? I think we all agree on that. That said, it suddenly, as Hussein Haqqani has argued, could provide Pakistan, and you just mentioned, with funds to buy American weapons. It gives Pakistan a seat at the table legitimately to talk about the situation in Gaza. It gives Pakistan a chance to talk about a nuclear umbrella for the region. It legitimizes Pakistan in a way that is very disconcerting and infuriating for India.
Yeah, I know, absolutely right, Barkha, because these roles that today are being visualized for Pakistan, the new visualizations. This wasn't there before. So suddenly you're seeing this role. Now, I agree fully with what General Shukla said about the need for military diplomacy. It's very important. And Pakistan has perfected this art over the decade, but we need to catch up a lot. But I would say what Tara was saying about CENTCOM and PACCOM, that's important because Pakistan has fully exploited its position with CENTCOM. But it's only now you're seeing the result of that. They've been doing this for the decades. But now, suddenly Field Marshal Munir is the toast of Washington, etc. He was there before, even as the army chief, and so was Bajwa, who was a very much more, a very sensible, more balanced kind of person. And in PACCOM, that too, you're seeing Pakistan's role. because in the Pacific, through what Pakistan is doing in Bangladesh, and Pakistan's very active involvement in this humanitarian corridor and supporting the Rohingyas and so on, and and America wanting to win over the Arakan army, and Arakan army being annoyed with the Rohingyas, being annoyed with the Bangladesh army because they are favoring the Rohingyas. It's a very complex situation going on there. We don't hear about it on a day-to-day basis. And secondly, who owns or where is St. Martin's Island in this picture? What I've heard from Bangladesh is that St. Martin's Island is virtually today with the Americans. I believe 100,000 trees have been cut. Every single citizen living there has been asked to leave. Nobody's allowed to go there without permission. And all the tourism infrastructure has been razed to the ground. And trees have been cut, birds are dying. But there seems to be some kind of a lot of activity going on there. And it's not the Bangladeshis doing it. So all this certainly brings us very much into the picture. I don't think we can brush it off just like that. The Iran angle is important, no doubt. But this is what somebody has been, some analysts have written, American analysts have written, that Iran, it's very interesting that today America wants to use Pakistan against Iran, but Iran and Pakistan also have a very close symbiotic relationship. They were saying there are probably plenty of moles from Iran and Pakistan set up, and so it's not easy at all. So I think it is a complete reordering, and the reordering, in my view, is something that they're working on with China. Because why is China so quiet? China is quiet on Pakistan. China is quiet on Bangladesh. China is completely quiet on what America is doing. It's as if they've already got a pact on this. Okay, you be quiet. We are doing this with Bangladesh and Pakistan.
So you're actually saying that the reordering of this sort of strategic order could have China's in. So when Tara says, I think it was Tara who said that Pakistan will need to choose between Pakistan and America, you're saying Pakistan may not have to make that choice.
No, I don't think so. And something, when Bangladesh happened last year, it was very clear that China was in the know. It was completely clear at that time. And in fact, I had started predicting that something is going to happen in Bangladesh, because in July of 2024, just a few days or weeks before the whole outset took place, Sheikh Hasina actually went on an official visit to China. And that visit had been planned for a long time, and she was expecting great things from that visit, that there would be a lot of money promised to her, economic aid and new projects, and she would be really installed. But China did a complete turnabout and treated her very poorly. She was given no protocol, hardly a meeting with Xi Jinping, just a hello. And she actually left a day early, which is so unusual, because China, when they invite you to their country, they don't treat you like that.
So now we have, sorry to interrupt, a new theory on the table. And the theory is this, and I want to bring in Tara Kartha on it, that Pakistan may not need to, because we're all wondering, okay, how is Pakistan going to walk this balance? It's in bed with China, it's being courted by the Americans, it's wooing Trump. Ambassador Sikri is actually saying, maybe in this G2 world that China and America seek, Pakistan can be a vassal of both, no problem. It's a means to an end. And the reordering may have China's in. How do you see it?
I'm afraid I don't. For once, but a very, 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 very short while, I'll have to disagree with Ambassador Sikri. But the thing is see, did you see China's reaction on that Bagram airfield? They went ballistic. So that is one. Number two is when the foreign minister had come here and he had that trilateral with Afghanistan, Pakistan, China, you saw that message. It was all about peace in South Asia. The whole South Asia must get along and all that sort of thing. It was very, very, very unusual. Then came CPEC too, where after 5 years late, CPEC has been delayed by 5 years. Suddenly CPEC is back on the table. With a lot of, XYZ and the usual traditional Chinese characteristic of 5 E's and 6 E's and whatnot, all that is back in Pakistan. Chinese are very uncomfortable with this. In fact, there's a bunch of people who are saying that China is probably out of Pakistan. That is taking it too far. But I'll tell you one fundamental thing in US foreign policy, which has never changed, no matter if it's Republican or Democrat or anybody else. They will not let a competitor come up. They will never allow any country to go past them in terms of sheer power in any part of the world. So while I'm pretty sure China, maybe the Trump will give tariffs off and, sort of encourage China this way or the other, In the end, the bottom line is they are back in Central Asia. They want to be back in Afghanistan. These are all very strategic areas. Central Asia, they have a pact on strategic minerals, and who are they using? It was hosted in Pakistan. Pakistan has been used big time as a regional.
So therefore, sorry to interrupt you. What you're saying is that you don't see this sort of American-Chinese deal. Many people believe that's what Trump wants to do. He wants to cut a deal with the Chinese. You don't see that.
He
Tara?
may cut a trade deal. I mean, I won't put it past
But
him.
not a strategic deal. Not a strategic deal. Okay.
no.
General Shukla, two very different perspectives from Ambassador Sikri, Kartha. Where do you land on this debate? Give us a second. Okay, go for it.
Let me
Go
add
for
to
it.
the confusion. Now, but on a serious note, this point that Ambassador Sikri made, this snubbing of Hasina by the Chinese, I think was the turning point. Because that gave the signal to the domestic unrest that, listen, don't worry, even we are not on Hasina's side. Why should they have done that? It really, befuddles me. The second point I would like to make is about Bagram Airbase. See, after this whole parade, that fantastic parade in Beijing, what did the Chinese signal? Apart from all the other stuff, they signaled a nuclear triad which has the capacity to hit mainland USA. And Americans are very seriously worried not only about the Chinese, but the North Koreans now developing a capacity to hit mainland USA. That's the whole point, not Guam and all that. And that has suddenly got them worried about Bagram and the ability to monitor the Loknor site and all that. So I think that is the significance of Bagram. But I think I want to make just two more quick points. I think, what happened on the 10th of May was that the Indian military decimation was so complete, it not only surprised many of us, I was really surprised, but it really must have hit the Pakistanis because they were naked and vulnerable. Thereafter, they have gone to great extents to strengthen this Bangladesh flank. And here now, there are these 2 to 3 visits of the DGISI, Turkish Defense Minister, Turkish Minister of Defense Industries. Is there an Islamist alliance kind of coming up here now? With Turkey, Pakistan, and now Saudi Arabia. The Saudi Arabia one I still haven't been able to figure out. Is it a response to Israel or is it signaling to India? I somehow now feel that this Islamist alliance is now spreading its tentacles both ways, West Asia and the subcontinent. So suddenly despite a fantastic military victory, and these are the ironies of international relations, we suddenly are faced with a very challenging strategic situation. So, these are the 3-4 points I have to offer. Nobody has complete answers. We can't hear Ambassador.
Sorry. I was speaking and I was saying that this is a very interesting point, that the Indian military decimation was so effective. It jolted Pakistan so much that it caused a reset with Bangladesh. And now, two forms of what, Ambassador Sikri, let's start taking last comments. I'll start with you. Two forms of a kind of, what General Shukla is asking is a kind of Islamist or Islamic rather alliance. One, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, the larger Muslim world meeting with Trump on Gaza, then this reset between Pakistan and Bangladesh. So there's something going on.
No, absolutely. I actually agree fully with General Shukla on this, that there is. Now, why would Trump, for example, of course, we do know it's in response to Israel hitting Doha to eliminate the remaining of Hamas, but still, Trump felt the need to meet these Islamic leaders in New York. And of course, Pakistan was again included in that. So
Yeah.
I feel that Trump has been talking a lot about this big, beautiful deal with China that he wants to do. That is on top of his agenda because he thinks, as distinct from what he thought in his first term, that if he gets together with China, that's the way to contain them. I think he's wrong, and I think China will never change its spots. They are marching ahead to what they think will be their number one position in the world, and they certainly don't want. They would be very happy with India's economic strength and military strength coming down. But I fully agree with the point that India's show of strength on May 10th during Operation Sindoor has been an eye-opener for the whole world. And I believe, for example, I was told that even from this St. Martin's Island, whatever America is setting up there, they're going to keep a very close watch on our testing site in Chandipur, and in off the coast, Balasore, Chandipur, that whole area. So it's very important. They don't know how India has suddenly got these high precision made in India, whether it's the BrahMos missile or the Akash Tir and all that. It is very big shocking, but but USA and China have been talking about this. The kind of deal, we know they've had a series of talks, and we know that they've now had a conversation between Xi Jinping and President Trump, and they're going to meet maybe before the end of the year, but certainly next year, early next year, President Trump is thinking of a visit to Beijing. So for them, the talks, did you see that talk that Pete Hegseth, the Defense Secretary of USA, called his counterpart in China? And the talks they had, the readout of the talk was amazing, where Pete Hegseth is telling his Chinese counterpart that, we're not interested in regime change in China. We're not going to have any confrontation with you. It's all okay between USA and China. It was not at all a conversation or a readout that said that America is confident of its number one position. It was a conversation which was telling China, come along with us as G2. This will be good for you, good for us, and we keep everybody else in their position. But certainly in that new role in South Asia, they have propped up Pakistan in a very big way. And China is in with it. Last year, they were very much in the picture. They knew, they kept quiet completely when this was happening.
There's just one thing that doesn't add up with China being in on it. And, I'm just thinking aloud here. The way the West reacted to those images of SCO. Something jolted them there, these images of Xi Jinping, Modi, Putin, ambassador. If China was in on it, why would America care when they saw Modi with Xi Jinping and Putin?
No, I think, first of all, the Putin-Modi meeting was very, very important.
So it was Putin that bothered them, not China as much.
But certainly China, to keep India on the right side, because China also they know that they want a peaceful border, the Galwan and the post-Galwan. They know they can't take on India there. I don't think they can. They've already had a very bad experience after Galwan. But I do think that Xi Jinping was making all the right noises, saying, I don't like unilateral tariffs and we are going to oppose it, we support you, and so on, and wanting to talk. They also want a good relationship. I'm not saying that China wants an adversarial relationship with India. No, they're quite okay with calming down the relationship. What we're doing is by mutual consent, making a plan, talking about the border, making possibly a border settlement if possible, etc., and continuing to talk. That's fine with China. That's fine with India also.
Okay.
But I think that China would certainly have given America perhaps a good readout of what they did with India, whatever the talks with India were.
So then we are entering really what the Chinese would call highly interesting times. Kartha, last thoughts?
On September 16th, US and UK warships went through the Taiwan Strait. I don't think that's a particular sign of any friendship there. What I see on the top, absolutely as Ambassador Sikri said, there's a lot of talk going on, Trump and his berations. But underneath, it's pretty much what I see with US-India. We've got a congressional delegation coming in. We've got the new counselors have been adopted. Things are going on pretty much as before in terms of our common exercises are going on. So that stuff is still going on. So I'm not negating what Ambassador is saying. I'm saying at the moment, I don't see any difference in the US-China relationship. It's as before.
Okay, General Shukla, closing word to you. The point is, we don't know. As you said, Trump is upending every single conventional assumption. Now we've got to navigate our way through these choppy waters, which is what, Jaishankar has called out the hypocrisy of the West at the UN. You have, talks on. India has followed the motto, keep calm and carry on. Whatever may be the sort of gravity of the provocation, we have kept our counsel. How do you see this unfolding? What would your counsel be?
So I'm highly confused. To tell you the truth, every time we end the show on Dr. Tara Kartha's optimism, Trump says something and you summon us back to explain what's happened. But I just want to make one or two quick points.
She's saying something. One second. Tara?
I said, I shall remain optimistic to the end, to the death.
Okay. And now Ambassador saying something. Yeah.
I am saying that certainly America will continue the relationship with India. They are not going to end what we've got. I mean, maybe even on the critical and emerging technologies, even on the defense exercises in Alaska. It will continue, just as we're continuing our talks with China. Of course, all that will continue. The idea is to keep India's economic growth in check, and India's strategic importance in check.
Correct. It's a containment of India instead of a containment of China.
Exactly.
Okay, General Shukla, last word to you, sir. Yeah.
So that's exactly the point. See, now that we are in the bigger power league, these things will go on. So therefore, we must sharpen our responses. And here I want to make 2 to 3 points. After the Kargil Review Committee, we created a DGDIA. His whole job was to look at external intelligence. What has he started doing? Counting the terrorists in J&K. So our ability to look beyond our borders he should be looking at this region. Look at the chaos happening in Bangladesh, Myanmar, how it is collectively impacting things. The DGDIA was created for this, but he is, punching below his weight for various reasons. The second thing, look at this theater commander business. It is not just air power. The theater commander, say the Eastern Theater Commander, will look beyond Bangladesh, Myanmar, of course in concert with the ambassadors. The Western Theater Commander will look at this, Saudi Arabia and all that. So in that sense, our strategic worldviews need to grow in an integrated manner. And even if we take home these lessons, because I think the region is of great importance to us, and all is not well there. There are a lot of, anti, or shall I say, contrarian trends, which need to be taken care of in advance and handled proactively before those challenges land on your doorstep.
Absolutely. I think that much we can all agree on. It's been a fascinating conversation with some very different perspectives. We can also agree on the fact that the military diplomacy is probably, something that has been overlooked or underutilized, and it's something that really does need to be deployed. As for the rest, Trump's press conferences that happened while India sleeps is the first thing we now look at when we wake up. We're all living in the age of Trump. General Shukla, I see your hand go up, sir. I can't hear you.
To Trump on your show, Barkha.
What?
I said one of these days we must raise a toast to Trump on your show, because he has brought so much color into our lives.
Oh, 100%. I was just saying that, for everything, he's causing grave unrest and turmoil in the world, but he's also hilarious. And that combination is actually highly dangerous, because, he's funny, and therefore he makes great copy, and therefore he gets wall-to-wall media coverage, and he knows it. And so I think the world he's a disruptor. Whatever else you may think about him, he's an absolute disruptor. We leave it there. Dr. Tara Kartha to General Shukla, Ambassador Sikri, always a pleasure. Namaskar. Thank you. See you soon.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.